In this lesson, we're going to focus on fraction multiplication. So we want to answer these questions. How do you multiply two fractions? How can you simplify the problem? And what do you do if one or more factors are mixed numbers? So here's some important vocabulary to know. So we want to make sure that we understand what a product, fraction, factor, simplified fraction, common factors, what it means to simplify, and what it means about a mixed number. Okay, so first, purpose of multiplying numbers is to find the product. So if we're multiplying fractions, we want to find the product of the fractions. So remember, product means it's the answer to a multiplication problem. So what are we talking about when we have a fraction? Remember, a fraction is a comparison of two integers. So it can be positive, it also can be negative. And integers, remember, are the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. And their opposites, -1, -2, -3, etc. It usually is written in this format with a fraction bar in between the two parts, which are called the numerator and the denominator, and neither of them can be 0. When we're talking about factors, what we mean are factors are real numbers that are being multiplied. So that's one definition of them. So if we had a multiplication problem that said 3 5/10 times 6, then 3 5/10 is one factor, 6 is the other factor. You can have an infinite number of factors, but individually each one is a factor in the problem. Or when we're talking about a product that's equal to another integer, we can talk about their individual factors. So for example, if I say, what are the factors of 15? Well, the factors of 15 are numbers that multiply to make 15. So factors of 15 would be 1, because 1 times 15 is 15, 15. And then 3 times 5 also makes 15. So all of those are factors of 15, numbers or integers, I should say specifically, that multiply to give us exactly 15. So oftentimes you'll hear a teacher say, make sure you simplify the fraction. Well, what does that mean? A fraction that has no common factors between its own numerator and its own denominator, other than 1, would be simplified. So 3/5, because 1 and 3 are the factors of 3, 1 and 5 are the factors of 15, so their only common factor is 1. This would be simplified. 4/8, 1, 2, and 4 all are factors of 4. 1, 2, 4, and 8 are all factors of 8, but because they have, other than 1, they have pairs of factors 2 and 4 in common, this is not simplified. So we just kind of discussed this, but common factors, remember, are integers. So again, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., plus their opposites, -1, -2, -3, etc. That is a factor, or it divides, thinking of it that way, both the numerator and the denominator of a given fraction, or fractions that are factors of a multiplication problem. So we just went over that 4/8 has common factors of 1, 4, and 8. So if I wanted to go ahead and get rid of the common factors, I would think about, well, if they're both divisible by 4, that's the greatest common factor specifically, I can divide them both by 4. I would get 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. And now the only thing that divides 1 and 2 is 1. So when we're asked to simplify, what we mean is it's the process of eliminating the common factors between the numerator and denominator of a fraction. And when we go ahead and we talk about multiplying fractions, you can simplify before you do the multiplication or after you do the multiplication. Difference between a mixed number and a fraction. I remember a fraction greater than 1, okay, that is written as an integer plus a fraction less than 1 is what a mixed number is. So for example, 3 and 1/4 is a mixed number. The process to convert a mixed number to a fraction is as follows. So 3 represents a whole number. The 1 represents the numerator, and the 4 represents the denominator. So we multiply denominator times whole number, and then we add the numerator, and the denominator will stay the same. So this is going to stay over 4. So I'm going to multiply 3 times 4, which makes 12. And then I'm going to add the numerator 1. 3 times 4 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. So I get 13 over 4. If I wanted to reverse the process and go from an improper fraction to a mixed number, instead of multiplying and adding, I would divide and subtract. So I would get 15 divided by 8 is 1. 1 times 8. And then my remainder equals the numerator. So it's, how many times does 8 go into 15? Once. That's my whole number. My denominator stays the same. And the numerator of the fraction part of the mixed number is going to be the remainder, which is 7. So let's multiply. When we're multiplying 2 or more fractions, here is how we do it. We multiply the numerator times the numerator, the denominator times the denominator, and we assure that the product is simplified. But please note that we can simplify either before we multiply or after we multiply. So in this one, I'm going to focus on simplifying after. Okay, so to multiply, we do numerator times numerator. So 5 times 9 is 45. Denominator times denominator, which is 6 times 7, or 42. Next, I go ahead and I do the last thing, which is to simplify. So I need to know if there's a number that divides 45 as well as 42. So using my divisibility rules, I know that 45 is divisible by 3. And because 42 is also divisible by 3, I'm dividing each by the common factor, which gives me 45 divided by 3, 15. 42 divided by 3, 13. Now, my answer is 15 over 13. And I'm going to leave it like that. Simplifying does not mean that your answer must be a fraction with the numerator less than the denominator. 15 over 13 meets the criteria for a fraction. And what I notice is that in my original problem, I had the fraction 9 over 7, which also was greater than 1. So this is the best way to write my answer. Now let's go and show how we can go ahead and simplify in the problem so we do not have to end up with such big numbers. So if I was to do the multiplication straightforward here, remember our steps for multiplying fractions, I would get 180 over 27 times 5, which is a really big number, and I don't even want to think about it. So if I want to simplify, there's 2 ways to look for simplifying. Vertically, can each individual fraction be simplified? Is there a number that's common, a common factor to both 10 and 27? No. Factors of 10 are 1, 2, and 5. Factors of 27 are 1, 3, 9, and 27. So 18 and 5, well, 18 is 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, and 18. And the factors of 5 are 1 and 5. So 10 and 27 don't have anything in common other than 1. And 5 and 18 don't have anything in common other than 1. So now, instead of looking vertically, because multiplication is what we call commutative, I could go ahead and think about this changing up. So in essence, what I'm doing is I'm going to look diagonally. Because there's multiplication in between the numbers, I can do it this way. So I'm going to look at 10 and 5 and see if there's a number that I can divide both of those by. And then I'm going to look at 27 and 18 and see if I can divide both of those by the same thing. So I see that 10 and 5 have a common factor of 5. So I'm going to divide 5 divided by 5 and 10 divided by 5. So 10 divided by 5 leaves me with 2. 5 divided by 5 leaves me with 1. So now I'm going to do the same thing with 18 and 27. So looking at 18 and 27, I see that they're both divisible by 3 and they're both divisible by 9. You always want to use the biggest number you can divide both of them by if you know it. So I'm going to divide both of them by 9. And when I go ahead and I do that, I find that 18 divided by 9 now leaves me with 2. And 27 divided by 9 leaves me with 3. And now what I have left is 2/3 times 2 over 1. And now I go ahead and multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 1 is 3. And so, because 4 and 3 only have a common factor of 1, this is simplified. So my product is 4/3.